Hello and welcome to this episode. In this episode we discuss about the components of Process Lasso. So basically Process Lasso is made up of two components. The first component is the core engine and the second component is this user interface as you see in here on my computer. These two components, they are separated from each other so that if the users, they close the user interface, Process Lasso is still running in the background to manage the processes. So if I close this window, you will be able to see that this process governor is still running as a service in the background, which allows Process Lasso to still manage the processes. We can go back here in the tray and open the GUI interface of Process Lasso. Running this core engine of a Process Lasso, it takes up to 1 to 3 MBs of memory, which is very small, and it almost takes no CPU. Every time we use this graphical user interface of Process Lasso, the process that manages this graphical user interface, it's called processlasso.exe. And this is the process that manages the user interface. One way to close Process Lasso is that to click here on the close button. If I close, usually Process Lasso's GUI is not closed, rather it's minimized and we can go to the system tray and reopen it once again. But if I go here in the main menu and exit Process Lasso, then I'm asked whether I want the background core engine to be closed as well. And if I say yes, then the background core engine is also stopped. Let's go and say yes. And now we can see that process governor is also stopped. Let's go and launch Process Lasso once again. So as we said before, the main two components of Process Lasso is the first is the GUI, which is managed by this process, and the core engine, which is managed by this service. Another component that we have is called session agent. Let's go and find it. The session agent is managed by this bitsum session agent.exe process name. This process facilitates some retrieval of information that is used by ProBalance and idle saver, which there are two features that are used here in Process Lasso. If we are not using these features such as ProBalance or idle saver, then we do not need to use this process as well. The configuration file of Process Lasso is located here in this address: C drive, program data, and then Process Lasso, and then in the config folder. As you can see, this is the startup configuration file of Process Lasso, and it's using a .ini file. We can manage this file by coming to the Process Lasso, going to Options, General, and Configure Startup. And this is basically manipulating that ini file. Let's go and close this. We also have the log files for Process Lasso, and the logs files are located here in the logs folder. As you can see, this is the Process Lasso log folder. The logs are recorded as CSV format, and we can configure the logging by going to the GUI, going to Options, General, and then Reconfigure Startup. Here you can see that we can change the log folder to somewhere else. And that's it for this episode. Stay tuned as we explore Process Lasso in more details in the coming episodes.